a factor tonight, Jen.
Syracuse Orange have lost 2 of their last 3, though they did get back in the winning column on Sunday at Pittsburgh. Had to be tipped around a few times before Syracuse finally does gain control. Lewis, Cooper, Engsler, Stroutmana, and Finkley. Very consistent starting 5 for Coach Quentin Hillsman this season.
Off the tip, Duke is in their man-to-man defense. And Lewis able to get to the cup.
One of the top scorers in the ACC, Kiera Lewis. And for the Duke Blue Devils, that title goes to Gurecki. Haley Gurecki right there with Lewis in terms of scoring. Jade Williams takes the first shot for the Blue Devils and is fouled.
And really important possession for Duke, especially for Jade Williams, who has not been consistent in scoring around the basket. They could use paint points, Jen. I know that's something that you talked about when it comes to Duke, but if they can get her active and get her into a scoring mindset, that's going to help the versatility of their offense.
Hey, if you got the glass working from the free throw line, maybe that's a sign. You can have a
Very
good night.
sign. And then self-corrected and nothing but net.
Gurecki, Odom, Lambert, Akinbadi, James, and Williams, the starting 5 for the Blue Devils.
Right away, I like that full court pressure from Duke. That sets the tone at the front of that defense, and they come away with it.
Brianna Odom coming off a 20-point game in that loss at Clemson on Sunday.
Syracuse back in their 2-3 zone, which they will play a lot of.
Finkley grabbed the rebound for Syracuse. And looked like a timeout was called by Quentin Hillsman. Gurecki at 34% from 3 for the season, has made 35 triples and is unquestionably the catalyst for this Duke team, leading them in so many categories. Averaging just under 18 points per game. Jade Williams with the steal. That's one of the things Duke does best, and they do turn it into points.
Really nice start for Jade Williams. The trouble with the Duke zone is their length. They've got size at just about every position, especially Jade, those long arms, and she got in the passing lane.
Lewis turns it over. A second straight possession, and Williams once again runs the floor, beats the entire Syracuse team down. I mean, coming out of a timeout, that cannot make Quentin Hillsman and the Syracuse bench happy.
And this is what Duke can do when they're locked in on the defensive end. That defense turns into easy baskets.
You highlighted it in your winning formula for Syracuse, so China. The importance of that 3-point shot for Syracuse. It's no secret this is a team that likes to shoot the 3, but they rank next to last in the conference in making their 3s, but they are 3rd in the number that they have made, as Odom has her first point.
And Odom is a big X factor because she can create her own shot, and she had a fantastic game against Clemson in a loss, but in those games, you just look at Leona Odom and you know what she can do and what a difference maker she can be.
Syracuse right now just needing to keep control of the basketball. They get it to Engsler, who may play that X-Factor type role for Syracuse, like you just talked about for Odom on the other end.
Take a look at Duke in their passing. First of all, in the passing lane defensively. Nice bounce to Jade Williams, and she gets it back because she runs the floor hard and gets to the rim. And once again, who's down the floor? Jade Williams with a good finish.
Hey, when your big girl runs the floor, you get her the basketball, right? Reward her. Duke has done that so far, and Williams has made good on it. Gurecki sliced right through that Syracuse defense. An unlucky roll kept it out, and then Akinbadi James stepped out of bounds.
And Haley Gurecki cut through the middle of that zone untouched. You have to know where she is at all times because of her ability to score from anywhere on the floor.
North Carolina, Georgia Tech just going final. The Tar Heels picking up the win by 7 in overtime. Janelle Bailey leading the way for Courtney Banghart's group. Finkley tried to go up and went right into the arms of Odom. Jump ball the call.
The cat-like reflexes on the defensive end of Liana Odom. Right here, Finkley gets the catch, but Odom is already up and on top of the possession before she could get it up.
Tisha Hyman into the game. She missed the last game for Syracuse, was sick in their win at Pittsburgh. But she's been good. This freshman, double digits, 4 of the 5 previous games before missing that last one. Now a turnover. Cooper back to Hyman. Had it blocked, though, by Williams.
Jade Williams is everywhere to start this game.
Odom might have gotten away with an extra step there, but it wasn't called. She has 4 points. Duke's lead is 6.
Syracuse has to make sure they are using their ball fakes against this Duke length. And they've also got to work to get to the backside of this zone. There's a lot of length on the front for Duke, but if you get to the backside, you can flatten it out and get some looks. Look at how much space there is behind that ACC.
3 too strong by Lewis, but she rebounded her own shot. Engsler, the leading rebounder in the ACC amongst a group of players from both teams trying to grab that ball. It'll stay with Syracuse.
We mentioned Liana Odom as an X factor for Duke. Well, Emily Engsler, in my opinion, is the X factor for Syracuse. Kara Lewis has had a lot of work to do on her own. Right now, Duke's got the handcuffs on Syracuse's offense. Akinbadi James sends that one flying.
Tell you what, Syracuse may be the team that leads the ACC in block shots, but Akinbadi James showing she's got something to say about that from Duke's point of view. 8 on the shot clock for Lewis. Hyman in some trouble. She traveled.
That's not a high percentage offensive possession. You don't try to dribble through that trap. If you've got 2 on you, someone's open. Your team's got to flash to the ball against that zone. Another good defensive possession from the Blue Devils.
And that's one thing that Joanne P. McCauley told us earlier today. She really feels pretty pleased with the way that her team has played defensively as Akinbadi James walked. And they're right amongst the top teams in the conference in a lot of those defensive categories. Scoring defense, field goal percentage defense, steals we already talked about. But their offense is what's been the question.
Yeah, and that's why you have to use your strength, which is your defense, to help out your offense. They almost had another one on that last possession. I blame Haley Gorecki, though, for that travel. You don't give Akinbadi James there on the run. That's not her strength to make a play in a situation on a fast break.
Talia Washington into the game and into the basket for 3. Michaela Boykin on the floor, player coming back from injury for Duke as Williams points to her shoe to say it didn't move, but travel the call.
Everyone needs a spark off the bench. This has been a slow start for Syracuse, but Talia Washington with the one from the hash mark gets it to go.
Earlier in the season, Gabby Cooper referred to Washington as the silent assassin. A freshman showing she can drain the 3, which I think is a prerequisite if you're going to come play for Coach Q here at Syracuse.
Turnover there, but that's the right idea against that zone. Use the baseline. Washington just stepped out, but had she been able to dribble, she had a wide open shooter on the right side.
Actually, they did call it a foul on Akinbadi James, which is why they gave the ball back to Syracuse. Eva Jaldi Tabdi spinning her way to the basket, but spun a little too much.
Had the right idea.
There's great potential for that young player, though, isn't there?
Yeah.
When she comes in terms of a presence in the paint for Syracuse.
Yeah, but she has struggled to finish easy shots and to score. She had stretches this season where she made it look so easy. Not so much as of late. She had a couple games where she went over.
Boykin drains the 3.
The offense may not be trending for Duke overall as a team, but it's trending up for Boykin recently.
As are her minutes, as Engsler, a jump ball will be called.
Boykin has double figures in 3 of her last 4, and there's no one really there. So she decides to take a dribble and pull up. And I don't mind the slow closeout on the 3 because she doesn't shoot it necessarily at a high percentage or volume. But now you've got to keep an eye on her.
Gurecki saw enough space, and she is one of the best to get into the basket. She gets fouled on her way in.
Syracuse is just reacting very slowly to Duke's attack. Instead of dictating with their defense, they're just reacting. And Haley's been able to get space and opportunities early in this game that she really should not get because of how potent she is on the offensive end.
She's one of the best at both getting to the line and converting in the ACC, an 85% free throw shooter on the season. That was her 94th made free throw.
4th in scoring, ACC play, 8th in assists, 2nd in steals. Just nothing that she can't do.
Those were her first points of the game. Mila Goodchild on the floor for Duke, defending Lewis at the moment.
Boy, Duke's doing a nice job in their zone of covering and rotating. This is the best 7 minutes of defense I've seen live from Duke this season.
Well, they've forced 6 turnovers, 3 steals, and 9 points off of those turnovers in less than 7 minutes of this game so far. Goodchild, one of the top 3-point shooters for Duke, shows why. Lewis got into the paint. She was expecting some more contact. Boykin will go right back to Goodchild. Steps in for the mid-range shot, too strong. And it'll stay with Duke under the basket. No, excuse me. We'll go the other way. Mai Forsberg now pointing direction of Syracuse.
You read the point correctly, Jen. She did. She pointed the other way. See you making reads.
I appreciate it. Yes, my teammate got my back there. The effort, I think, has been so impressive by Duke to start this game off. And this is a team that has struggled with slow starts at times, including in their last game at Clemson. Duke had a season-low 14 points. They shot 15% in the first half. They managed to claw their way back into that game at Clemson with a terrific 4th quarter, but it was too little too late. This effort, though, this is more of what they're looking for.
What did we talk about at the top of the show? Sense of urgency. Duke is playing with a sense of urgency on both ends.
Finkley got a good look off the glass and in.
That's a high percentage look. That's one of the only high percentage shots that Syracuse has gotten so far in this game.
Williams was the spark early for Duke. Both ends of the floor. Here goes Gurecki with a left hand and a chance for one more.
I don't know if there's a player in the ACC that's better at this. Haley Gurecki putting it on the deck, finding an angle. Where there isn't one, she'll find one. The tougher the shot, the better the finish at the rim for Gurecki with the contact, and she'll go to the free throw line.
And that was the 2nd personal foul against Finkley for Syracuse. Gurecki ranking in the top 10 in the ACC in scoring, assists, free throw percentage, steals, and minutes played. She just left the 4. That's a rare sight. Cooper, who just recently got into the 1,000-point club for Syracuse, got it over to Lewis, who was fouled.
And that's what we've got to see happen for Syracuse. They've got to find some driving lanes. They've got to move the ball against this Duke zone, make it shift and work. but under control. I feel like they've played a little faster and more rushed on the offensive end than they've had to so far.
That screen by Jaldi Tabdi, a little too much force there, and she gets called for the foul.
The idea by Syracuse was to screen that zone to create the kind of openings we're talking about, but Jaldi Tabdi needed to stay set for one more moment before she moved.
Strong first quarter showing for the Blue Devils, so they turn it over on that possession. And this is a team that's just a couple of points away, really, from being in much better standing in the ACC. 6 of their 7 conference games decided by 6 points or less.
It has been a nip and tuck season for Duke. I mean, 1 possession, 2 possessions. Williams once again active on the defensive end, but you mentioned their offensive struggles, and it seems like they always got better as the game went on. It's just whether or not they could do enough before the final buzzer to come away with a win.
Now it'll be a different challenge as they've started strong. Can they keep it going? Syracuse has been the one to struggle, although Enxler now in the scoring column.
And this is what Syracuse wants to do. Beautiful pass there, though Syracuse recovered.
But not in time to get Gurecki. They did enough to affect her shot, though. Lewis, Enxler was calling for it. Got it to Cooper in the corner. Gurecki with the rebound. Plenty of time for Duke. She leads the charge. Hyman tried to pick her pocket. Cooper tried the same. It'll stay with Duke. 9 seconds on the clock.
I just like the pace that Duke's playing with. They're not thinking about offense. Once they get the possession, they are going to the rack.
Gurecki got it off the inbounds, couldn't finish. Lewis takes a quick glance up at the clock. She'll stop, take the 3, will not go. And this first quarter belonging to the Duke Blue Devils, who have lost 6 straight on the
or any of the ranked teams, but can you win the games you're supposed to win? And you're just hoping at the end of the season what happens around the country helps to give you a boost. But one thing I'll say about Miami, and maybe even Syracuse as well, is that the committee does take injuries into consideration. And Miami has been without Beatrice Montpremier. Syracuse is without Tiana Monacahia, even though they knew coming into the season they wouldn't have her, so it's a little different. But be interesting to see how, especially for Miami, those losses without Beatrice Montpremier are weighed if she's able to return.
Sure. She's preseason ACC Player of the Year, a big part of what they do. By the way, how about Lambert? I give her a little love with that pass she just launched down the court on the last possession. Got it to Odom, and now it's Odom trying to set up Akinbadi James.
Missing is contagious, but so is making baskets. And we have covered games of Duke where it seems like they've got easy looks, but one person misses easy ones, and then it rolls down to the rest of the team. Well, the energy that Jade Williams in particular started with, the rest of the team is feeding off of. Go back to that pass you were talking about, Jen. That's a one arm. And Duke has done that a few times in this game already. They're looking to launch over the top of the defense. They want to run the floor. And this is the kind of adjustment, coaching adjustment, that can change a team's momentum at this point of the season. If Joanne P. McCauley is telling her team, every time we get the ball off a rebound or a defensive stop, we are going. We're going for a layup. I like the way it's working out so far.
8 fast break points so far for Duke, none for Syracuse. And that was really one of the points that Quentin Hillsman made after their win at Pittsburgh, where he said he felt like his team did a much better job of being aggressive, going after, getting points off of turnovers and getting out on the break.
Yeah, he's talked about pace quite a bit, because what Syracuse wants to do is speed you up, speed the game up. But to do that, they have to hit shots. When they're not making shots, then they're not able to set up their press, and they're not able to get back and get matched up the way they want to in their zone. So it takes some offense to make it work, and they have not been shooting well. They're 14th in the ACC, both in three-point and field goal percentage.
You see some of the numbers there in their wins against their losses, and pretty significant difference in a number of categories, but the fast break points were the last one on that list. They average about 7 more fast break points in wins than in losses. None so far tonight. Jaldi Tabdi got some separation. Very balanced effort by Syracuse so far. 7 different players have scored.
One thing I've noticed about Syracuse's offense is, in this lineup in particular, they're rather small, right, in their backcourt with Hyman and Cooper and Lewis. Well, Duke's wings right now are Odom at 6'2", Gorecki at 6 foot. So sometimes Syracuse struggles offensively when they're playing against bigger wings and backcourt players. And Jaldi Tabdi on both sides of the floor right now making a difference.
Drawing the charge against Jade Williams. That's the second personal on Williams.
Williams catches it and lowers that shoulder. And because the play started in the lower defensive box, the restricted area is not in play. So she was able to still take that charge even though she was inside of the restricted area.
Jaldi Tabdi just being hounded. 3 different Blue Devils around the basketball. Held ball.
And Quinn Hillsman wanting a foul. Having a conversation with the officials.
None given on that play. It'll be Duke basketball. Maya Forsberg, Edward Sedlasky, Rod Creech, our officials tonight. And Lewis took matters into her own hands. Got it back, couldn't finish.
That length of Duke defensively covering up Lewis.
Good child to Gorecki. Foul away from the basketball as you saw Odom go flying to the ground.
And this is a frustration foul, I think, here by Kira Lewis. Trying to get to the most important offensive player for Duke on the floor, Gorecki, and just pushes Odom out of the way. They really could have reviewed that.
Now Williams playing hard, though, on defense. So you're saying perhaps because no play on the ball, why they might have looked back on this?
Yeah, this is just a push. I mean, that definitely could have been reviewed and upgraded. But the officials just called it a common foul.
Boy, Gorecki had to work hard to get free. She did, but then lost it and committed the foul on Enxler.
Yeah, that was a bit of a miss by the officials on that last one. That should have probably been a whistle and an intentional foul on that push by Lewis.
And my apologies, that last foul was called on Odom, her first. Jaldi Tabdi in good position, and Lewis got it to her.
And we've seen this a few times now by Syracuse, is when they're able to penetrate the gaps. And Lewis does a nice job of finding her post player under the basket. And that's what's worked. You get beat if you're a good child, and when the help rotates over, it leaves a player open, and Jaldi Tabdi has made a difference in the last few minutes for Syracuse.
5 points in the game for the 6'2" redshirt sophomore, Paris, France. Gorecki just came flying down the floor, dared anybody to try to keep up with her and not foul. Syracuse couldn't do it.
Syracuse was picking up in their full court pressure, trying to force some turnovers, trying to get tempo, but you have to credit Duke for how they've handled Syracuse's pressure so far in this one.
Tomorrow night, it's the ACC Wrestling Opener for number 3 Virginia Tech and number 12 North Carolina at Castle Coliseum in Blacksburg. Our coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app. 5 of Gorecki's 7 points in this game have come from the free throw line. Cooper will try a 3, never shy to unleash a 3-point attempt. Gabby Cooper. Odom tried her best to keep that in play, but turns it over.
And that's where Duke's turnovers have come from sometimes trying to do too much. I understand them trying to pick up pace, and it may just be high risk, high reward offense for now until they can get a feel for some of these long passes and consistently get out on the run, but they turned it over a little bit too.
9 turnovers in the game for the Blue Devils. 10 for Syracuse. Engsler got free in the middle of the zone. Boykin back on the floor. Boykin, a redshirt freshman who has had 4 ACL surgeries in her basketball career. The tip and the putback good by Odom, who has 8. Boykin's minutes are limited as the Blue Devils get it right back. But she is making the most of those minutes. No foul.
Look at Liana Odom.
When she plays hard, she is a difference maker, isn't she?
We call her Air Odom when she does things like this. Shot goes up here. She's under the basket. She was asking for the lob. And that one, she just kind of dribbled it out.
And good eyes of our officials. I thought at first there was a foul. You could see there in the replay. Was tripped and lost it out of bounds. Elena Beard had a conversation with Odom before the last game, and Odom responded with a big effort as Jaldi Tabdi has 2 more.
Well, Elena Beard had a conversation with me. I'd step my game up as well. And speaking of stepping their game up, Maeva Jaldi Tabdi getting to the glass, making her presence felt on the interior. She's 6'2", big body. Missed a couple early when she was inserted into the game. In the last few minutes, she's just finding the open space against that stretched out Duke defense. Duke is trying to force turnovers, so they're stretched out defensively. Well, Maeva is right in the middle of the paint and has been helping Syracuse to stay in this game.
Eight points in the game for Jaldi Tabdi, already over her season average. And how does Odom get that open?
I love it. Smart call by Duke. They are just going over the top of Syracuse's pressure, not even trying to pass through it.
Washington back on the floor. Hit a 3 earlier. Gorecki with the ball in her hands. Pulls up, and it's good. Nine points now for Gorecki. 13 points the lead for Duke.
I feel like Duke really starting out, picking up the ball full court, has given them some energy as well. Speaking of energy, Syracuse could use some made threes, especially from Gabby Cooper, because of who she is on this team. She's a leader. She's been in the battles. She's their consistent starter. They could use her stepping up right now.
By far the most experienced player on the floor for Syracuse, but Jaldi Tabdi has done it again, drawn another charge. 5 to the Cardinals. They had a 3-point loss at Virginia. And we had the game they lost at the buzzer to Wake Forest. That was 3 in a row where it came down really to the final couple of minutes, and they were in those games. Think about how differently we might be talking about this Duke team right now had those 3 L's turned into 3 W's.
Well, we've seen it in stretches, but right here out of the timeout, Jillian P. McCauley makes yet another change, and Duke picked up 3-quarter court in their zone pressure instead of just man-to-man back to the zone. So it's just making Syracuse have to think and not allowing them to get comfortable in what they're expecting from this defense.
Lewis gets it over to Eleni Colome, the transfer who joined the Syracuse program this year. Was at Rhode Island last season. Led that team in scoring, 14 points per game. It's a grad transfer.
Well, Syracuse needed a lot. They are, of course, without Tiana Munakahia, who is out for the season. And she's a big part of their offense in terms of how they get shots and facilitating, and that's what they really struggled with, is they still don't have a true point guard. Lewis has done an outstanding job, but they don't have someone to read the defenses, to hit those open shots. I mean, Tiana Monakahia is one of the best we've ever seen.
Would have been my vote for ACC preseason player of the year, Monakahia, had she been able to play this season. Odom. And Tiana, just getting word, by the way, she just had her final procedure, reconstruction surgery, earlier this week. That's the last one, so all going forward from this point. Two-time first-team All-ACC point guard for the Orange. And it's been fun to watch her. The videos she'll put up on social media, the team and everybody, Tough for T, supporting her through her journey with breast cancer and that diagnosis, even at her young age, and the way she's fought through it.
And when you talk to the coaching staff, they say she is still working out so hard. I mean, in the gym, keeping her body fit, staying in shape. Incredible what that young woman has pushed through.
Odom has another one. She's now at 12.
Liana Odom could win a track meet if one busted out right now, because there is no one that can keep up with her. And I'm not sure why Syracuse is not sending someone back with the assignment of stopping Liana Odom. Syracuse has got to start to leak out. I know it's hard if it's a turnover back to the other end, but they've got to start sending someone back, because they're giving up a lot of easy scoring at the rim.
Free throws have not been good to the Orange. That is 4 straight misses. And Lewis, 72% free throw shooter on the season. Not helping your cause at all if you're not taking the freebies. This is Jada Patrick for the Blue Devils. Gets it to roll in. The 5'10" freshman out of West Haverstraw, New York.
Nice aggressive move by Patrick. Known for her defense, but showing some offense in the post-up game.
Stroutman, boy, she hasn't been able to have hardly a sniff of the basketball in this game tonight. No points for the junior out of Latvia. Gurecki kicks it out to Boykin. She hits another three.
Don't you love it? Don't you love it for Michaela Boykin after everything she has been through?
How can you not? Spin from Lewis. A hard-earned 2.
And the long pass once again. And Syracuse had 2 defenders back, but they still weren't able to disrupt it.
Boykin feeling it. That's 3 triples in this half for the redshirt freshman. And boy, if she gets going, watch out.
Michaela Boykin stepping in, finding those opportunities off of the pass from Gurecki on dribble penetration. She is ready to knock it down. This is the second time we've watched her walk in to a 3-point shot. So the adjustment has to be made, because there's another shooter on the floor.
This is a player who we've talked about. The injuries have dominated her journey so far. Now finally getting a chance to try to make a name for herself on the court. This is her 3rd season at Duke, even though she's a redshirt freshman, but she played just 18 games those first 2 seasons. Went 350 days until she made her season debut. 350 days without being on the floor until that debut January 2nd against Wake Forest.
And keep in mind, she was 0 for 7 versus Clemson. 0 for 7 versus Clemson, so she is here for her revenge.
Hey, nobody's going to remember 0 for 7 if you start out knocking down 4 threes in the first half. Especially helping out this Duke team that has struggled mightily on the road this season. They're still winless on the road in ACC play. Somebody has got to get a hand in front of Boykin. 15 points, all of them from 3. And Strautmane finally has her first 2.
You would think the three-point shot would scare Syracuse away from the zone. They're still in it.
Under 30 seconds to play. And the highest scoring first half for the Duke Blue Devils all season going on right now. We said at the beginning, both of these teams have some work to do. Duke came out and went to work. Syracuse, well, they still have to find a way. Lewis. A lot of contact going in. It will stay with Syracuse here. 3.6 on the clock. Tough pass for Strautmane. She had more time, I think, than she realized. She doesn't hit, but being a part of the winning formula for Syracuse just has not been there, as the Orange hit just 1 3 in each of the first 2 quarters.
There's just too much on Kiera Lewis's shoulders. She needs someone to help her out. Digna Strautmane, she has the experience, a player that's been in the battles. She should step up here. Emily Inksler, talent-wise, even though she's still a youngster. But Syracuse has to find an answer.
And we've talked a little bit about potential postseason implications. I mean, this could be a big one for Syracuse if they cannot find a way back into it.
Yeah, we saw the projections from Charlie Cream, and Syracuse has got some work to do. And we're inching towards February. I know we don't like to talk about brackets this early, but we're getting ready to turn the calendar. And we don't have as many games left to make a difference.
Drive to the basket from Akinbadi James is good. Finkley spins, can't get it to go. Rebound goes to Williams, who had 6 points. Sorry, LaChina. All of those coming in the first 2 minutes for Duke.
We heard Elena Beard talking about Syracuse needing to slow the game down. That's one way they can do it, is getting the ball into the post. They have a couple of bigs, and Finkley and Jadi Taldi that comes off of the bench that can give you low post scoring.
Gorecki adds a 3 and now has a dozen. Cooper, you know she's going to take the threes. Can she make them? She has struggled this season, one of the best all time at Syracuse, but just 20% on the season.
I mean, hand down, man down. Digna Strautmane was there, but she wasn't really there. If you're not going to run Gorecki off of that 3 and your hands are down, she's going to put it up.
And Duke has now made 7 of their last 8 3-point attempts. A lot of the credit there going to Boykin. Strautmane was fouled on that shot. And we were talking earlier today, LaChina, about both of these teams who like to play in the zone, maybe being willing to get out of their comfort zone a little bit more, play a little more man. I mean, Syracuse has struggled to defend Duke really all over the floor, but especially from 3.
I was surprised once Boykin kind of went off that Syracuse stayed in that zone, because they were struggling to match up and decide who was where to cover the 3-point line. And ultimately, once a team has hit 6 threes in the first half, you've got to make some adjustments to that zone, or you've got to get out of it. And time expired just in time for Syracuse to go to the locker room and regroup.
Duke was 6 of 8 from 3 in that first half, their best shooting percentage from beyond the arc in the first half this season. Good defensive stop by the Orange that time, but then Lewis just ran into the double team. The trap did its job, and Gurecki was fouled.
Duke really collapsing here defensively. I thought Syracuse was going to get the ball off the floor, but the Blue Devils had other things in mind. Is off of a missed shot they're picking up defensively.
That's the first miss from the free throw line tonight, not only for Gurecki, but for Duke as a team. See, she is such a do-it-all player. Only one in the country putting up those kind of numbers in all those different categories. 17.5 points per game. She rebounds, sets up her teammates, has steals, and there's a 3 for Cooper. That's her second of the game.
Syracuse is camping out in that corner because that's where the bigs, as Patrick gets a score in transition, but that's where the bigs for Duke have to come out on that backside, and that's a long ways to go. See there, Akinbadi James is held up by that screen from Finkley. She just posts up, and Cooper's able to get that wide open 3.
Gabby Cooper's second all-time in Syracuse history.
They ran the same play again, but that time good closeout by Odom, and not a good shot there by Enxler.
Now, she hasn't had many easy looks, just 2 points in the game for Enxler. Lambert did well to keep that in bounds. Now gets around Enxler. Lambert, another great comeback story for the Duke Blue Devils. Gurecki just didn't give up the basketball, stuck with it, and has 2 more points to show for it. 14 now for Gurecki.
This is a smaller lineup for Duke. Williams out of the game. Odom playing at the 4 spot. Patrick can really play both post and guard. But Gurecki just being Gurecki on this possession does a nice job of keeping her dribble alive, but also keeping that pivot foot alive. Haley Gurecki is always hunting shots, and that's what you are supposed to do when you are a scorer. Nice trap there by the Orange.
See if they can turn it into points. Lewis waits for the contact, got it, but did take a tough tumble to the floor. Gurecki committing the foul, her first.
Everything for Syracuse right now runs through Lewis, and her ability to get into the paint, and you see she gets the shot up, but Gurecki was already off balance. Gets the shot up and gets it to go, taking all of her energy. But Lewis has had to be the do-it-all for this team and could really use some help, both facilitating and scoring.
Boy, has she struggled from the free throw line tonight, though. Just 1 of 5 is Lewis on her free throw attempts.
When you can get going from the 3 like Syracuse can, you're never out of a game. And so there's a lot of time left in this for a 3-point shooting team, but they have got to definitely get stops, take care of the ball, and get good offense. Not saying they have to make shots, because you're not going to make all of them, but it needs to be good offense from Syracuse.
Tisha Hyman got it from Jaldi Tabbi. Shot clock violation. There's that Duke defense doing its job.
And Patrick is built to be a tough defender. Watch her right here. She recovers for that block. The time it took her to go from floor to defending, not very long.
Patrick, the highest ranked recruit in this class for the Duke Blue Devils, was number 23 by the All-Star Girls Report.
Look at all the movement for Duke.
And that looks very different than what you saw on the other end with Syracuse, where the 2 post players on their last possession just stood in the middle with their arms up, but there wasn't a lot of movement to go with it. Jaldi Tabbi that time had some space and had the mismatch with Gurecki defending her.
Risky pass there by Gurecki, and we saw that a little in the first half. Right idea, but Odom's got to be ready for it in position. And Boykin gets back to take a charge. Michaela Boykin is waiting. Look at her. Got her feet planted. She's outside the restricted area. She's in legal defensive position. Absorbs the contact. Solid game for number 12 in Duke Blue.
That sends Engsler to the bench. That's her second personal. And she just seems almost to China like she's thinking things through too much. Just not playing with her natural flow. She can be a take over the game type player. Lewis can too as she goes behind the back and is fouled. But Syracuse a long way to go to catch up with the Blue Devils. Half had right hip surgery and has just been a force to be reckoned with. All the ACC second team selection last year by the coaches, first team by the media.
She actually had 3 rebounds and 1 steal for Gorecki. But what's so interesting about her to me, Jen, is she's had some serious injuries. I mean, you mentioned the hips, the shoulder. I mean, she was pretty banged up. But her style of play, in terms of how physical she is and her ability to absorb contact, she is still relentless in the way that she plays, despite how banged up she started her career at Duke.
With as much as she does, China, does she, in your eyes, especially if Duke maybe starts to go on a run here, uses this game as a springboard, does she have Player of the Year potential?
Oh, she definitely has ACC Player of the Year potential. I mean, it does have a lot to do with how Duke does. And the only spot when you look at her numbers this year, she has had some really high turnover games. And so that has been kind of what's failed her on the offensive end. But when you look across the ACC, especially with the injury to Beatrice Montpremier, who was the preseason Player of the Year, it's wide open. I mean, Dana Evans is there. Elisa Kanane is there. I mean, the race right now as we head towards February is still very much wide open. Jocelyn Willoughby's having a heck of a season.
Willoughby leading the ACC in scoring as Jaldi Tabdi scores again. She now has 12. I think Willoughby's still number 1. I know Dana Evans is right up there too, along with Lewis and Gorecki.
Yeah, you can't say enough about Lewis as well. I know Syracuse is down right now, but when they have had their brightest moments, it's been the brilliance of Kira Lewis stepping over to that point guard spot and taking on a lot of responsibility.
I mean, it's as much as you're impressed by what Duke has done tonight, and I think we all are, it's equally as shocking to see Syracuse, a team that we all saw play one of the most exciting games in the ACC this season when they beat one of the best teams in the league, Florida State, in overtime. And then they back that up with another overtime win. That was against a struggling Notre Dame team, but still finding a way to win when it mattered. And then just looking like a different team on a couple of losses, and including tonight.
And that's what happens with your confidence throughout the course of the season as Odom hits a turnaround J. You know, you lose at Miami, you lose to Georgia Tech at home, and that shakes your confidence. And they got back on track against Pitt, but the way that Duke is playing, this is a different monster.
3-point struggles continue for Syracuse. They were 2 of 15 in the first half and haven't done much to improve that number. As Odom, tough 2 right there, and she'll have a free throw.
You can't stop her, especially when you catch it at that ACC. That's the weakness here defensively, and Jaldi Tabdi does not have the quickness to keep up with Odom. She is slippery, and how about that finish with the contact, finding the glass, head up. She can get some air under her. I tell you, she has some serious hops.
Whatever that Elena Beard conversation was, I think Odom has taken it to heart.
And the ladies in the studio have talked about it and her being an X factor. And I like Jada Patrick, what she's showing us here in this second half and the minutes she's playing.
Some big news from Elena Beard coming out recently as well, and we want to congratulate her on a tremendous career, but announcing her retirement. Former national and ACC player of the year in her time at Duke, also a WNBA champion and all-star, and I know LaChina, it has been a joy to watch her play wherever she has been.
Yeah, you really can't put into words what Elena Beard has meant to the game of basketball. I mean, one of the fiercest competitors and definitely greatest defenders that we've watched play the game. And the thing that stands out to me about Elena was how easy the game seemed to come to her when she was at Duke. I mean, we're looking at a player like Odom, who is long, athletic, just naturally gifted. That's the same way Elena was. But to me, her legacy will also be one of perseverance. I mean, she had some injuries that could have been career-threatening, but she pushed through it to have some of her best seasons in the WNBA as Stroutman hits that shot, ended up with Defensive Player of the Year accolades. And to me, I mean, one of the best stories in basketball and a player that we will greatly miss.
But now we get to have her on our side.
Yes, which is even better.
Enjoy hearing Elena in studio and also calling some games for ACC Network. 5 on the shot clock for the Blue Devils. Good defensive effort that time by the Syracuse Orange, a team that has struggled defensively. Now, they've shot the ball well enough to bail themselves out of it a few times during the season, but they average giving up over 70 points per game in conference play. That is the most of any ACC team. And Duke seems well on their way to besting that number tonight.
And that's the danger when you like to speed teams up. And that's what Syracuse likes to do. It becomes a high possession game. You're getting up and down. And if you're Duke and can thrive in that the way they have tonight, it can mean trouble.
Washington back off the bench, but the shot off the side of the backboard, and then she commits the foul. Maya Finkley on the bench for Syracuse. She has 3 fouls. Angstler has been awfully quiet. She's on the bench for Coach Quentin Hillsman at the moment.
One thing that we just saw in the Duke huddle and that we saw against Clemson was Leona Odom also being very vocal with her team. You don't see her saying a lot. Well, we hadn't up until this point in the season, but I've actually caught her quite often in the last 2 games, talking to her teammates, getting excited, showing emotion. I mean, she can change the trajectory of this team dramatically.
Senior, one who put up some pretty impressive numbers last season, becoming just the 8th player in Duke history with 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, 100 blocks in her career. Got that 1,000th point earlier this season. Syracuse on the run. Cooper drives and finishes. Still a 20-point lead for the Duke Blue Devils. Team searching for its first ACC road win of the season. They have lost 6 straight overall on the road. Lambert drives. The right-handed shot off the back of the iron. How about the freshman Jada Patrick?
It's been her energy. Since the moment she touched the floor, she has played at a high level of energy on both ends, and that's how you get rewarded. Gets herself in position. And she's the beneficiary there, gets it to go.
Finishes off the 3-point play. 9 points in the game for Patrick, whose stat line in the last game, by the way, just read 4 minutes played. I mean, she is making an impact tonight. That will end quarter number 3. Duke just 1 point away from her ACC game high with her 19 so far tonight.
And the question has been consistency for Odom. So now she's got a 20-point game against Clemson, pushing to get there with 19 in this one. She could do this every night if she wants to.
Odom got her 1,000th career point, the season opener against High Point. Was out a couple of games against Florida Gulf Coast and Wake Forest. The lower body injury, had a sore Achilles she was dealing with. But one of the things when you look at these two teams and you see Kiera Lewis and the numbers she puts up for Syracuse, and you see Haley Gorecki and the numbers she puts up for Duke, and you say, okay, who's going to help them? And top on your list when you looked at Duke was Odom, and she has done that tonight. On cue.
20 plus.
I mean, Syracuse just has not had an answer for the way Duke came out in this game.
They got punched first and never responded.
Finkley gets the bucket, playing with those 3 fouls. Williams for Duke also has 3 fouls. Now, Lewis did well to stop Gorecki there. That is not an easy feat to stop Gorecki in her tracks. Lambert, nice shot fake.
The 2 players that will decide how this season goes for Duke. Haley Gorecki and Liana Odom. And Gorecki commands so much attention off of the bounce because of her scoring ability at the rim. And so she's been able to get her teammates open. And there's the chemistry again. They got it clicking, Jen.
And they are doing the work as well. Whether it's been Jade Williams or Liana Odom running the floor consistently for Duke, as the Blue Devils have been dominant in many facets of this game, but particularly on fast break points.
Gorecki with a perfect pass, the right amount of air under it, some touch, and Odom running the floor consistently.
I would think that's the kind of thing, as much as there will be for Syracuse to pick apart when they go back and look at this game film, that's the part that's got to drive you crazy, because you beat me once. Well, they didn't just beat him once, they beat him, what, 4 or 5 times with that long pass down the floor, and that's for sure a shame on you.
Yeah, we kept saying, is Hugh going to send the defender back to guard at the rim? And we really did not see that for Syracuse, as Duke continued to get back and get fast breaks.
We'll have our next women's basketball doubleheader for you. It's on Sunday, starts at 2 Eastern. A Sunshine State rivalry game between Miami and 14th-ranked Florida State. Both of those teams winners tonight. Then 5th-ranked Louisville will be there for that one as they host Pittsburgh at the KFC Yum Center. Both games right here on ACC Network and the ESPN app.
I'm excited, Jen. You and I will have that game in Louisville against Pittsburgh. We get to see Dana Evans again and Jasmine Jones, who's been fantastic. But for Pitt, Amber Brown is one of the freshmen. Many freshmen in the ACC have taken the challenge to be a consistent X factor for their team, and Amber Brown is one of them for Pittsburgh. Bright future for her. But some good talent in this first-year class for sure, and Kiera Lewis will draw more contact and get to the free throw line.
On cue, let's take a look at some of those standout freshmen so far. And these were yours that you picked, LaChina. That was kind of tough to narrow it down to 5.
Yeah, I'm looking for my list right now. I can't really find it because there's some others I wanted to add like Amber Brown, but Sam Brunell, River Baldwin, Tashingay for UNC.
How about Amari
Brown.
Robinson,
Yep.
Clemson?
Amari Robinson, Brown Turner from NC State, Kitley from Virginia Tech. I mean, there are a lot of talented first-year players in this league. Freshman of the year is going to be a tough one to decide.
Boykin, a little stutter step change of pace on her way to the basket, and Odom just hung on to the basketball. Held ball called, stays with Duke.
Azana Baines has had a solid year. She has not had her best games as of late, but she's a player that I know you and I both have thought a lot of throughout the course of the year. Virginia.
Shamira Williams. Yep. We saw a great defensive effort by her. Would she have 9 steals? It was against Duke in that game.
Cornegay Lucas has had some good games for Virginia.
And remember now, technically you throw Boykin onto the freshman list. She is a redshirt, so she's not a newcomer, but she's a redshirt freshman. I don't think we can include her, though. It's kind of a different category. She has not scored a point in the second half, but had that career-high 15 on her perfect 5 of 5 shooting from the three-point line in the first half.
And imagine if Anea Peoples was still active for Notre Dame, another freshman we enjoyed watching this season.
And that young lady is a very bright future as well. Hated to see her go down with injury and will miss the remainder of the season for Notre Dame, but certainly a part of their future. Gurecki dishes it off.
And that was the work of Jade Williams, who you won't see her numbers pop out on the stat sheet, but I've been very critical of Jade's play this year in terms of her just overall contribution as a junior. And boy, has she really turned the corner. She looks great tonight.
Just held her positioning that time, got pushed out of the way by Lewis. And Williams doesn't always score a lot of points, as you said, but those little things that you picked up upon sometimes can make such a big difference. And Duke calling a time for her in her first year. The Yellow Jackets playing some defense, but losing in overtime tonight against North Carolina.
Boy, I would have loved to be at that one. That was one we were looking forward to. The battle of the first-year head coaches. And Courtney Banghart got it going. And Georgia Tech is a dangerous team because Francesca Pond is such a tough matchup with her size and shooting ability. Luella Kabai is an X factor because of her size, and she can also step out of the paint and do some things. And they're just playing with a renewed energy. Kiera Fletcher, as Patrick continues her good night. But to me, Lorella Kabai is probably the biggest X factor because there just isn't a player like her in the ACC.
What do you see exactly where they're there? Just her size at her position, the effort?
Her mobility, the effort, the size, the strength. And she's just scratching the surface of what I think she will be long-term as a player. Good block there by Williams.
Under 5 to play in Syracuse. Duke still up,
which is one that stands out where they just jumped out on the cards but weren't able to sustain it. And obviously Louisville's a different beast, but this has been very impressive from Duke.
I think the message Duke sending tonight that when this team gets some help for Haley Gurecki, and when they consistently play for 4 quarters, adding that to the great effort we've seen on defense, they can be a tough team.
High level of energy, sense of urgency, defense to offense.
They're saying, hey, Charlie Cream, we want you talking about us a little bit in your bracketology.
That's right. They're trying to move into that they have some work to do category.
And then Duke missing out on the NCAA tournament last season when they finished right at 500, 15-15, but just 6-10 in conference play. A win tonight would even them up at 4-4 in the ACC and put them right in the mix, in the middle. I don't even think you can say the middle. It's so many teams that are grouped in there behind Louisville and NC State, who are pretty clearly out in front. And then after that in the ACC, it's a free-for-all, really.
a doozy.
And you think about for so long, you went into that tournament. I mean, since Notre Dame has been in the ACC, you went in knowing it was basically either Notre Dame or Louisville's tournament to lose. And I think we add a few more names into that mix.
Yeah, definitely. Though Louisville looks pretty good. I'm impressed with their road performances in this league. Squeaking out wins when needing, taking big leads when they've needed to. And Baines with a nice move. Good ball fake from the freshman.
Now we will get to see Louisville. Hope you'll join us for that one on Sunday. Second game in our ACC women's basketball doubleheader as the Pitt Panthers go to the KFC Yum Center. Louisville getting a little tune-up before Team USA comes to town to take on the Cardinals.
Oh gosh, it is going to be a great atmosphere because that's what Louisville fans do. And Angel McCautry will be back on the court. To my knowledge, she has not played on U.S. soil since she injured her knee 2 summers ago. And to come back in front of that crowd in that environment is going to be fantastic. And get to see the best in the world. And so that will be quite a game for Louisville. And great opportunity there. Good showcase for women's basketball.
I don't know. Oregon setting the bar pretty high for college teams when they pulled off that big win over Team USA earlier in the season.
If I'm Jeff Walls, I'm just saying, can we just come out healthy? You know, we've got a season to continue here. What a contest there by Patrick.
And the road is going to be a tough one for Syracuse to try to climb back up, but they will have opportunity to think about the fact that this is a team that, in terms of an opportunity for big wins, they will get to play Louisville on their home floor in February. They will travel to NC State. So if they can find a way to build some consistency through the remainder of their season and maybe pull off a win against one of those ACC heavyweights, then maybe they keep some hopes alive for the NCAA tournament, a place that they have been for 7 straight seasons.
Yeah, one of the challenges is that these losses for Syracuse are coming at home. So you look at their schedule, and Duke was a beatable team for sure at home. Georgia Tech was a team that they could have beaten at home, and we're told that the officials are reviewing that last play.
Get a better look at it here as Lewis committed the foul.
Ooh. Yeah, she was definitely trying to make a play for the ball here. Ooh, well,
and she's
the
late,
ball
though.
was, yeah, she's really late. Ball was already released. So this could be, yeah, she was just so far from the ball. There could be an intentional foul assessed here, and I can understand why, though I don't believe that Kira Lewis would take a swipe at someone's face. That's what it looked like on that replay.
And that is what our referee crew would be looking for. Was it a legitimate attempt to make a play on the ball? If it was, it would stand just as a standard personal foul. If not, they could elevate that to an intentional foul.
Which I believe that's what's going to happen here.
They are now alerting the coaches. We'll get the word. They will be upgrading it. They're confirming that for us now. So that will give 2 free throws and the basketball.
Yeah, that's the right call. From some angles, it looked like she was swinging at the ball, but then when you really slowed it down, the ball had already been released, or almost. I mean, she was going up with it, and Lewis was in closer proximity to her face than she was to the ball.
Gurecki, though, will now get the 2 free throws, and then Duke will retain possession.
Take a look at it again, and right here, see how the ball is already up and out, and Lewis's arm comes down really far from making a play on the ball, but closer to Gurecki's face where she ultimately makes contact. So that's the right call by the officials.
And you do like to see that the officials, just because those free throws aren't going to matter to the outcome of this game, they still want to make sure they're protecting the players' safety and that they're officiating the game just as they would if it was a 1 or 2 point game.
Absolutely.
Lewis has just had a tough time tonight. Give her a lot of credit for the effort. She has worked hard. She's gotten to the free throw line a ton. But for a player who's one of the tops in the league in scoring, 14 points tonight, and she's 3 of 13 from the floor, 8 of 13 from the free throw line.
When she's turned it over, and she's coming off of a game against Pittsburgh where she played 40 minutes and did not turn it over once.
Yeah. And that's been one of the trends. If you look at Syracuse, their wins and their losses, Lewis's turnovers almost double in the losses versus the wins.
He did a nice job of crowding her, taking away her space, taking away her looks at passes and angles to get to the bucket. And I think they kind of knew if they could take her out of the mix and cause her to struggle using their length and their changing defenses, that Syracuse would ultimately struggle, and they did.
A lot of new faces on the floor for both teams, really. Brooke Alexander, another one of those grad transfers for Syracuse. 3 of them on the roster this year took that shot. This is Baines bringing the ball up the floor for Duke. See Emily Schubert, Uchenna Woke, the 6'6" sophomore center. And Mila Goodchild, the 5 on the floor for the Blue Devils, along with Jada Patrick. There is Woke. He bobbled the ball a little bit, still had a chance at it. And Baines, one of those players, as she just had the ball after that shot, that Duke would like to get back going again, because this was a freshman who Coach P told us earlier had really separated herself in the class, was just really playing well, and recently had a death in her family, so she's just not been herself the last few games.
And as a freshman, any disruption, anything that can occur, I mean, you're just trying to learn and grow as much as you can every game. So our thoughts and prayers go out to her and her family. And
88-58, a resounding win on the road, the first in ACC play for the Duke Blue Devils.